Welcome back, everyone, to Turn to Page. This is the podcast where we talk about all books. Me, not it. Yes. And today we are very, very, very late with this episode.
That's rude.
We are. Come on. This is supposed to at least come out end of November, but we'll get into as to why we're late. At least in terms of like reading the book. I have other things going on. I was binge watching a show. I couldn't stop, so
Oh
it
my
was really hard
god.
for me to like really start getting into the book and all that. Luckily, I had that audiobook, and I just put that on 1.5 speed, and yeah, I was also playing Spider Man 2, so that one that one for sure took priority. Sorry, because it's Spider Man, and that episode is already out for Quest Center at least. So take a look at that, and all of my videos for my gameplay of that is up too. Really like the second to the last one has gotten like the most views out of anything. I think even our podcast. So that's pretty cool. And yeah. Anyway, that was a side tangent. I mean, that was my reasoning for why this took me so long to get to finish. Um, but today we're going to talk about Hex by Thomas Old. I'm not gonna say that last name because I'm gonna mess it up.
I mean, you're gonna have to. I can't pronounce that.
That's
I'm sorry.
literally
It'll be
why.
up. We'll write it down.
Yeah,
It'll be on there.
it'll be on the thumbnail.
I heard that it was like Dutch or something.
Probably. I'm not surprised. It's gonna be backwards for people looking at that. But yeah, we're reading this. Wait, hold on. Can I like match it to the screen?
Oh my god.
There it is. Ooh,
I saw
3D.
another cover of it and it was kind of cool, but I like this one
Really?
more.
I like this one a lot more. Just kind of like you already get the vibe already, like what this is gonna
Yeah.
be and all that. But yeah, we're gonna talk about this today. I already
What
told you.
we've read. Anything else?
Yeah,
We'll see how
I
it
was
goes.
I was hesitant on that part because I already just said what I was doing this entire time since last episode. So there wasn't a lot of reading on my end. No reading on honestly on my end.
That's
So
okay.
yeah, you can fill in the gap for that.
Okay. Well, I read 3 other books.
Hmm.
Um, Another reason why it took so long to do this episode is because it took a while for me to get into the book. Um, and I kept switching off between books. To be fair though, like the other books I kind of read during work. Like in between work, and then this one I would read the book and then do the audiobook. So it was kind of a lot, and I mean it wasn't a lot, but it took me a while to get into it.
Hmm.
Um but yes, I read 3 other books. And these are all authors I have mentioned before. They kind of all came out with new books, I think in like October. So I was like, oh, okay, overwhelming. um but I read Love Redesigned by Lauren Asher, which is the first book in her new series, which is, I believe it's called the Lakefront Billionaire series. Um, this one I loved. Um, I got really excited because Lauren Asher um keeps mentioning my favorite band in these books. And in this one, like the characters are like actively listening to the band, and I am basically so happy and I got so excited. Um, but this one is about it's kind of like enemies to lovers. Um, and you have Julian and Dahlia, and Dahlia is kind of going through a big breakup, and she goes back home for a few months to kind of she was kind of going through like like breakdown,
Hmm.
a crisis, if you will. So she goes back home to kind of just like uh get her bearings together. She is a interior designer, but she's like a really well-known interior designer. Like she has her own TV show and things like that, which she did with her ex. So that whole thing is kind of up in the air at the moment. And then, like I said, she goes back home, and their her family is like super close to this other family, which is Julian's family, and he it's not really a secret that he like really cares for her. Like they've known each other their whole lives. They I wouldn't say they were like best friends because they were very competitive growing up. Um they but like stuff happens and things are revealed where he's like, cared about her the whole time, which is like in the beginning of the book and it's like in the back of the book too. Um and yeah, it was cute. I like that one. The band thing made me really excited. The second one is Caught Up by Liz Tomford, which is the next installment. It's the third book in the Windy City series. This one is a baseball romance. I really like this one. This one made me cry the whole time. This one I was reading it, like I said, at work, and I kept having to stop because it would make me cry. um, it's so cute. It's about a single dad, and he's a professional baseball player, but he, being a professional athlete, having to travel with a
Child.
like 1-year-old is kind of tough. And he is really picky with the people who are taking care of his kid. Until his coach is like, you need to stop like firing people because like you need to get your head in the game too, and blah blah blah. And so the coach ends up getting his daughter to babysit the kid for the summer. The daughter is a professional baker, but like super successful. And so she is also kind of going through like a little breakdown with like stuff going on in her life, and so she goes back to stay with her dad for the summer, and that's when the dad is like, okay, like you're gonna take care of this kid. And that one is also a little bit like enemies to lovers, like they're completely opposite. Like the male character is very like organized and like straightforward, and like you need to do this, like this needs to happen this way, blah blah blah. Whereas the girl is very like she basically lives off in her van. She doesn't stay in one place for too long. She's messy. So yeah, it was really cute too. That one also made me cry. Mainly because of like their backstories, and like how like in the end it's kind of similar to both of them, but like it's really cute. I really like that one. And then the third one is also the third book in the Kings of Sin series by Anna Huang. It's called King of Greed. This one is about a couple who's been together for 10 years. They're married. And like right off the bat, they've come out in the other two books, and you can sense that they've had issues in their marriage. And right off the bat, the female character is like, I want a divorce. And it caught the male character off guard. And it just kind of is like what happens after that and what they both go through because of this, being in a 10-year relationship. I saw a description of somebody saying that this book broke my heart and put it back together by the end. Which, true. But yeah, those are the books that I read.
That's cool. Yeah, like I said, I was binge watching a show and playing Spider-Man, so I didn't read at all, except for the main book, obviously. Um, Hopefully, I mean, we're gonna do the podcast for next week, so another podcast next week. So I don't have time to read anything new, but yeah. Anyway, let's just get into it. Yeah. So Hex is about a town that is cursed by witch. The people in the town are just forever stuck there. I don't think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure anyone who steps out of it at least at a certain time basically dies. Anyone who stays there at a certain time, they'll be stuck there forever too. And so you just kind of seeing their lives go by basically, and yeah, that's basically just the gist of it, I guess. I don't know how much else I can say without spoiling it, at
Yeah.
least for the main plot. But yeah, like we mentioned though, this one was just kind of tough to read, not because it was creepy or anything. It's just we kind of had trouble really getting into it. We don't read a lot of horror books, so this was definitely a tough one for us
I
to
feel
like
like you've
get
read more
through.
than I have.
What, horror books or
Hmm.
um
I mean, not like horror, but like creepy books. This
mm,
one was definitely my first one. Like, I've tried to read it before.
oh
I like the beginning, but like I just didn't finish it. Um, but yeah,
mm-hmm,
like I liked the writing. Like, it wasn't bad.
mm-hmm,
I know that a lot of people like the writing in this book. The only thing is, like one of the reasons why we read it was because I recommended it to David, and people were kept saying like, "Oh, it's so creepy. It's so scary, this and that." And like it was creepy, like I'm not gonna lie. Um, I don't know. I feel like it was just a little bit overhyped with
mm,
the creepiness at least.
yeah,
Cuz the writing I thought was really good. Like I feel like um while I was reading it, like I could picture the things and like, you know.
mm-hmm,
Um but I also would get kind of lost with like how many characters there was. Um I don't know. It was interesting. Like it wasn't bad, and
mm-hmm.
I would definitely like recommend it to people. Um but yeah. And like the story was like interesting.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, you mentioned it. Like the writing is really, really good. All the characters are very unique in their own way.
Yeah. I just feel like
There's
it
a
was
little
too
bit
many characters.
too many characters, and I mean, there's some exaggerations here or there, especially with the teenagers. Just kind of like the way they talk. I don't know, just like teenager talk. I don't know if that makes any sense. But other than that, though, like the writing is really, really good. I love the explanation of like the history of the town, of the history of the witch
Yeah,
in
like
this
why they do
story,
things,
why they do
like
how
why
they
they do the things that they do and stuff. Like that's really interesting.
how they managed to get away with
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so those are really great. And in times where it gets creepy, it is creepy.
Creepy.
Not like the way we get scared in scary movies. Again, this is a book where we haven't read that much horror movies. I read like
Horror movies.
thrill. Oh, my bad. Horror books. Um, I've read like I say more so thriller
Yeah.
books. What was it? End of Watch. That one is a book about these people are starting to commit suicide for some reason. We don't know how. And the sheriff, I think he was a sheriff, he starts to realize that it's all connected to this guy who was in the coma, and he like figures it out that the guy in the coma is somehow brainwashing these people. Like he has that ability. And it's like super interesting, like the way they kind of like get into the powers and all that, and how the killer figures out how to get into their minds and all that. Like that's all really, really cool. And it's like, again, it's a bit of a thriller. What other ones have I read? I mean, yeah, you mentioned it. I didn't get that far into it, sadly.
Not because we didn't like it.
Yeah, no.
It's just
um
we started it a long time ago.
Stephen King is an amazing writer. He is seamless with the writing and everything, but he gets too much into details. Okay. I forever laugh at the moment in the movie where that one kid gets cut on his stomach with like the letter H. There's like 50 pages of that whole scene, and I'm like, in the whole time I'm thinking like, oh man, how are they gonna like film this scene? Because he gets really into details, guys. I'm thinking like they're gonna like do macro shots of the cut or something like that, getting really into it. But then movie cut happens, and it's just and that's it. And I'm just like, oh okay, yeah, that's yeah, that seems about right. It's just a cut. I don't know why I'm like thinking like they're gonna go into it. It was just a cut. So I don't know. It's that's definitely the hard part of it all. I think End of Watch is also a Stephen King book, and that one doesn't go into that much detail. It's about like not even like not even half the size, not even a quarter of the size of what it the book It is. That's weird. And so yeah, and so for this one though, the horror aspects of it just kind of. I think what I was looking forward to was kind of like the mystery of it, not so much of like the history of it, but like, are they going to break the curse? Are they going to
yeah like the mystery was like what kept me going. Like I wanted to kind of figure out like, because I feel like in the beginning you kind of know where it's going.
I at least know where the climax is gonna go. Like it's very, very clear from the beginning. I'm like, okay.
So it was like it kept me going to kind of figure out like what's actually gonna happen. But yeah.
For sure. Yeah, but like I said, overall, I think this is one that I definitely like do want to read again, just because I feel like I didn't give it a chance that it should have. Again, I was reading it at 1.5 speed, so like I don't know, you feel like you kind of have to like take in those creepy moments and all that, and those moments of like when there's conflict within the characters and all that. So I think it's definitely just worth a reread, and I definitely would recommend it still for others. So yeah. Spoilers?
Yeah.
Already? I mean, 20 minutes in, I guess that's fine. As long as we do like 45 minutes, I think I'll be okay with this podcast.
I mean, it's fine.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah. But yeah, with spoilers, so like I mentioned, well, actually, no, we should start with the characters. I gotta start with the witch, but we can start with the characters. Basically, you follow this one kid. I don't know their names. I'm really bad with names just in general, so it's not. This isn't like because I don't like the book or anything. I'm just really bad with names. But you follow this kid basically, and he's the one that's trying to figure out, the mystery, how to like break the curse and all that. He's trying to test out, what's the name? Catherine's
a witch.
Yeah, Catherine's a witch. He's trying to figure out like her moves and all that. Like, where does she go? Why does she go to these certain places at certain times?
Well, I feel like you need to explain the witch first, because that's
okay. Yeah. Fine. My bad. Okay, so yeah, Catherine, she's the witch, and
she's about like 400 years old, or at least she's been in the town for at least 400.
Basically, during that time, during the like Salem witch trials and all that, maybe even before that and all that, and she was an actual witch. This wasn't like the witch hunt that we hear in history and everything. And like, so what happened with her is that her son died, I believe, and she brought him back to life. And that's not something that you can hide. So people realize like right away, like, wow, witch, don't. Why you messing with nature and all that, blah, blah blah. And so they kill her kid. I think they even killed her daughter. I think she even had a daughter, and they kill her just cause. And they kill Catherine. They burn her I think they burned her at the stake or something like that. And because of that, she just put a curse on the town. And the people who
when they buried her, they sewed her eyes shut in her mouth, and like, oh, that was after?
Yeah. Oh. So I know this is there was a lot of information about it. So, but yeah, no, they killed her, and then she cursed the town, and the people who originally lived in that town all died, and they all killed themselves. Oh, I mean,
you're right.
Well, like officially, people don't know what happened to the people today. Don't know what happened to the original people. Like, they just up and disappeared. which is actually I think that was a town like actual here in the U.S. The people who lived in it there just disappeared. Like there is a town like that. Um, and so yeah, and then I think just through the decades, other people just kind of like moved into there and everything, and that's when they realized like, oh shit, they were probably like cursed by this witch and all that, blah blah blah. And I can't remember like how many years had passed where she was just like killing people, making them commit suicide and all that. And finally, they brought in they said the Catholic Church got in it and tried to like perform an exorcism on the town basically. But all that the priest could do was just shut her eyes and sew her mouth shut and chain her up, like. And the dude was just like, "This is it. You're all stuck here. Good luck." And fucking dipped.
Yeah.
And so,
Like they even got like
the U.S. government is even involved in this. They're
yeah,
like,
but it's because they want to keep the town secluded
yeah,
from everybody because like how David said in the beginning, if you live there, you're stuck there. If you move there, you're stuck there. You can't leave
mm,
past a certain time or be out by a certain time. Um and then like I think just like the weirdest part of the story that like gives me anxiety because I don't know how I would react is like because the story takes place like today. Um but like the witch just like lives there.
mm-hmm.
Like she roams around the town. She'll like there was at one point they say that she was in the middle of the grocery store one time and people would just like walk around her and like
Yeah, she's just
like can you
there.
imagine like this
Mm-hmm.
dead body basically
Yeah.
with like their face sewn
Mm-hmm.
up. Oh my god.
There's even one, there was even one point, there was this one couple. It's the kids' parents. They even mentioned that like the Catherine was just like in their room for like
Yeah.
I think they say either 3 days or like a week, and the wife was just like we're sleeping in the living room.
No.
Like I think
I
they
would
actually
just cry.
like they I think they actually like did try to try to sleep in their room, just like ignore her, but they couldn't.
Yeah, no.
But like, and then I mentioned too, like the U.S. government was involved, and they were just kind of like, hey, just make sure no one gets in or out of this town, and like you'll be good. I think they just get a couple free things. I think they get like free Wi-Fi or something like that, and just kind of like make their lives a little bit easier for
Yeah.
everyone. And as
I-
long as you do this, you'll be good. You'll be taken
yeah.
care of. Like that's really all they can do, honestly. Like what the fuck can you do with the fucking witch? Um, and so yeah, like you mentioned too, but people just kind of get used to it. If she's there at some place, they kind of just walk around her. And she
And
just
they
shows
came
up.
up with like this new like technology, I guess, to like keep track of her
Mm-hmm.
because um they have to obviously like keep her in check and then they have to keep the people in town in check making sure that they don't like mess with her. At one point in the story they say that there's this new couple that unfortunately moves in
Mm-hmm.
and but the town doesn't say anything.
Well, yeah, it's just the less people know the. Well, that was an interesting thing. So the new couple, they were trying to move in. They were kind of like, oh man, this is kind of like a deal. Like, and this is a perfect house.
Yeah,
Like, we
it's a
should like really
steal.
take it. Yeah, it's a steal. And it's so funny because I guess the mayor of the town and his wife, the mayor is trying to come in.
Explain.
No, he's trying to like get them out in a nice way. But the wife though, she's always playing this part of like the Karen, I guess you could say, where she like very clearly is trying to be like a little bit racist towards them, so they can be like, okay, maybe we don't want to live here and something like that. And they mentioned too, it's like she doesn't like it, but like she has to do it for the town. It's
For
so
them.
yeah, and for them too, yeah. But they wouldn't budge. The couple wouldn't budge, and they're stuck here. And so the day they first tell them like the whole history, the one that I just said, and everything, and then they show them a video, and apparently they show this video to kids in the town just to be like, even though
Listen,
don't
this
fuck with
could
this,
happen.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And basically, you know, this was like another couple hundred years later.
No,
And science.
later.
No,
This
like
was like a few years
sorry,
back.
sorry, no, sorry. Like this was hundreds of years later after they chained her up.
Yeah.
Basically, scientists wanted to like test her and see if like maybe there's some way to break the curse, and so they were like, hey, let's just try to open the mouth slowly and like cut one stitch one at a time and see what happens. They get to one stitch of the mouth, and just by the little whisper that she's able to get out, the scientists kill themselves, like bash their heads in the wall and everything, like just full on gory. And they show that to kids, to again let them know, don't fuck with the witch, get away from her. And the first the first night that they stayed there, the witch went up to them, like she just straight up was in their room, and the husband, he like got closer trying to be like, what the fuck is going on and all that. And like in that moment, he did, you know he got close to it, and then the wife was just like, hey, leave it. Let's get out of here. And then when the mayor finally tells him this whole story, he tells him too, it's like, you were close to her, weren't you? Like, you wanted to kill yourself, didn't you? And he was like, yeah, but I just broke out of it instantly as soon as my wife like talked to me and all that. So like her spell is like that powerful. And so that's one thing they bring up, is that do not open don't open the mouth, and for sure don't open the eyes, because that is
And
what.
don't touch her. Like,
Don't touch her.
just try to ignore her
Yeah.
as best as you can.
Mm-hmm. And then the couple asks like, how the fuck were you able to like hide this from anyone, and they say, we kind of don't. Like, that's the thing about the town, is that it's famous for the witch. They, people take videos of her randomly and all that, and they just thinking like, oh hey, it's the witch of the town, blah blah blah. And later on, like way later on in the book, it's Halloween. Obviously people want to visit the town with the witches at, and what they do is the witch at some point is just stuck somewhere, and then they build like a shed around her, and they're like, hey, take a picture with the witch. And like they make money off of that easily. So like they hide it in plain sight, and that's how the town is able to get away with this. And they just got to make sure everyone who is there gets out on time.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's interesting, like,
yeah, it's
everything that they do to like live with this.
for sure.
It's a little like ridiculous, but it's also like, what else could they do?
Yeah. And I believe it too. There's a lot of things on the internet that you just will not believe, even if it's like 100% real. So I think I would believe it, that they try to hide her in plain sight,
Yeah.
basically. And so,
But
yeah.
being in this small town, never being able to get out, never being able to do anything. They tell a couple of stories where like there's this other kid who has like a girlfriend in another city, but he can't go see her, and then she can't live with him.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, like, I'm gonna leave. And then his parents are like, you can't though. Like, it's not like, if you leave, you're gonna die. And it's not fair for you to bring her over here and for her to have to live with all of this. So this is where we kind of start being like, oh, okay, I see where this is going.
Yeah. Basically,
because
that same kid, he's the one that's trying to figure out a way maybe he can break the curse, and he has a team of his own. They have a set of rules: just observe, don't get close. And at one point they did, there was one experiment where they got a microphone as close as they could to her mouth, and see if they can catch whatever hex she's creating. I'm just kidding. And they managed to record it, and they play it for someone, and the dude just wasn't infected. So now they were like, okay, perfect, maybe we can use this to like figure out a way, figure out what she's doing, what she's saying, or something like that. But I mean, it all goes to shit, because there's this one kid in the group who's just a little psychopath. He for some reason really wants to see her tit.
Yeah, the kid is really obsessed with that.
Yeah, I don't know. It was just, that part was just weird. I feel like it was already fine that he was kind of like wanting to cut her up and or something like that to me, because like I don't know, I feel like uh, to me I think it's realistic that someone would want to be like tough around her, you know, really try to be like she ain't that tough or
Yeah,
something like that.
like I
I could believe
understand
that.
why people would do the things that they did because anybody would go crazy if you're permanently stuck there, not being able to do anything,
Hmm.
and then you have a witch, like, you know, I'm not saying that what he did was right, but I understand
Hmm.
why they would go a little crazy.
Yeah. And I mean, this is what I mentioned too. Like all of these characters are very different. There's the one, the kid who like wanted to cut up the witch. His mom is someone who is obsessed, basically like pra-
Worships her.
worships her like a god, you know, and understandable too because it was Catherine that killed her husband, and her husband was like super fucking abusive. So she just after that she was just kind of thankful for her and like treats her like an individual in a sense. Uh, so yeah, there's all different kinds of characters. It's hard. It was hard to keep up with who's who and all that, but all of it to me seemed pretty realistic. I wouldn't honestly surprised that there wasn't even like a bigger cult, you know, or
Yeah.
something to the witch or something. Maybe they thought they can get some kind of power from her or something like that. I don't know. I think I'm thinking too like superhero on that point. You know, because I'm always thinking like that. Because I mentioned before, I thought that this ending was going to be kind of like Paranorman, um, but no, it was far from it. But yeah, and so that whole thing kind of just went to shit. The kids just kept getting like too confident,
They
I
kept
guess.
messing yeah, they kept messing with her and they really shouldn't have.
Yeah, and at some point, the first victim of it all was actually the main kid's dog. The dog just like straight up attacked her, and then like just like one single bite, and all of a sudden the dog was just acting weird after that, and then that just kind of spiraled out of control because any kind of death between that's connected to Catherine, the mayor, and like a lot of the adults in the town want to figure it out what's going on because like if they don't know what it is, then it could happen again or this could affect someone else. And so when they couldn't figure out as to why the dog died, I think the dog basically like committed suicide. It's like, oh wait, what the fuck happened? Like when did he even get close to her? When
Mhm.
like why was he even chasing her? Like it's so weird. It was weird the fact that it was following her. Like usually it was just straight up attacked her, but no, when the dog died, it was just following her. Like um the witch was leading it somewhere, who knows what. And the lady that worshipped her, she thought of it as like a sacrifice. Like, oh man, maybe she wants like us kind of sacrifice, because and especially because when she found out that around that time, that was also when she got cut up, and people found out that it was her kid, and so she kind of thought, maybe she just needs a sacrifice, and she straight up sacrificed a peacock or something like that. And when I looked it up, by the way, I saw it on the internet. I saw it that peacock resembles like rebirth or something like that.
Mhm.
I could have sworn it represented like um apocalypse or something like that. I based that knowledge on oh my gosh, what's it called? The one show that I was watching about these people in a plane that disappeared for 5 years. Fuck.
Oh,
Oh.
Lost 8. No. Um,
Oh my gosh, what's it called? Manifest. Got it.
Manifest.
Yeah, that
Uh-huh.
one. You know, there was a lot of like religious stuff going on in that one, and I could have sworn they said that the peacock represented like the upcoming apocalypse or something like that. So I could be wrong. There was a lot of symbolism in that show, so it was a great show, by the way. I'm glad that I got an ending. Netflix, woo, save the day again. That one, fucking Netflix, dude. They saved two shows that I really like: Manifest and Lucifer. Anyway, um, but yeah, what else happened? I hope we didn't skip too much. I don't know. At least from like that point on,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
death. No, yeah, I remember. No, yeah, it was just kind of like like I mentioned, yeah, we got the history. Then we got to some of the struggles, especially with the main kid. He couldn't, see his girlfriend and all that. I honestly didn't care much about the investigations, especially like after reading the book. It's kind of like that kind of led nowhere. I kind of wish we could have like gotten some kind of chance that maybe they could have broken the curse or something, or I don't know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it just all again went to crap.
Yeah, it just kind of went to shit. Um, the town just kind of went into panic, and at some point, the main kid dies, and the father. Oh, I should mention, I don't like this setup, and I don't like how it's kind of paid off. I think this is my one complaint, my biggest complaint, I guess, in the book is that in the beginning, the main kid, he does a lot of YouTube videos. Um, I some of it is about playing video games, and some other part of it secretly on the internet. He does it about the witch. So he's always like got the camera on him. And at one point, he puts the camera on his dad, and he asks him a question. It's like, if you had to choose between me and the entire town, who would you choose? And he says the town. And they can't get into a little conversation about it. The kid says like, "Oh, people usually lie. They always say they're a kid and all that, but that's not really true." Blah blah blah. He's like, "No, yeah, I would sacrifice town for you." And so the main kid dies. And what does that happen? That leads to his dad deciding he wants to make a deal with the witch, and he says, "Bring it back. You brought your son back. You can do that too." And I can't remember how like the deal was made. I think she might have like sent images or something to his head and being like, "This is what I want," basically. Let her open her mouth and open her eyes. And I like this one detail in it that when he opens the eyes, Catherine just like straight up covers her eyes and everything, just so
Mm-hmm.
like she won't kill the guy who's freeing her. Um, and that's when the town goes to shit. Again, even more, basically dies. But like I liked the way they explained it too. Is like every single time he like broke a stitch, the whole town felt it. They just kept
Mm-hmm.
they felt more and more agitated, like anxiety was going up and everything, and then at some point they felt the curse, which is
Yeah.
all of them losing their minds, seeing the most horrible things in their minds from the witch, and it all led to them killing themselves. This is another complaint. I don't like sad endings. Yeah, I mean, I don't mind like I would guess you could say cliffhanger endings and all that, but this isn't cliffhanger. This is straight up like sad ending. Everyone dies, and Steve, that's the dad, he's basically the only one alive, and forever cursed to live by his uh zombie son, I guess. At least that's what they're trying to imply in the ending. That he knows there's a guy on the so he ends up in like alone in some room, and he hears a knock on the door, and he can see the silhouette outside, and he can tell that that's a man. And but like he just knows that like as soon as he sees whoever that is, like it's just not gonna be good.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's the ending. I'm sure we skipped a lot of things. I'm sorry for the people who like really like this book again, but um,
There's a lot. Like I said, it's a lot of characters, so it was really hard to keep up. Um, but it's like interesting to see everybody's like reaction and again just how they interact with each other and their like daily lives, I guess, like having to deal with this that I
mm-hmm,
thought was the most interesting.
mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, it was interesting ending.
Interesting ending.
And like saying it out loud is like so creepy.
Mm-hmm. That just everyone dies. Yeah, I mean, oh yeah, I mean they mentioned it too. Like basically, people just kind of like walked away from the town, but like they just kept going and going until they all dropped, and some of them went to like rivers or lakes or something.
Uh-huh.
And they said like days later in the news they find their bodies just floating and
Yeah.
everything. So it's just kind of like okay. This I mean again, uh, this particular ending I really don't like, just because it's kind of like, okay, what was the point?
Everybody died.
Yeah, like what's kind of the point in reading all of this when everyone dies and all that? Like, it's cool that one guy lived and like he's forever cursed to live with that guilt,
I
forever
mean, it's not
cursed.
cool, but like it's
I mean,
interesting.
cool in concept, I guess. I don't know. I'm not saying like, yeah, fuck yeah, suffer, nothing like that. Jesus, that's part of the reason why I fucking hated the ending in No Way Home, because people were like, "Yay, Spider-Man is suffering," and I'm just kind of like, "The fuck is wrong with you guys?" And so, like, I don't like that. It's just, it's cool for this particular reason, because it's kind of like, you can't, you should have seen that coming, guy. You know?
Yeah. I feel like it sounds like we really didn't like it, but like
No, I know, right?
that's not true.
No, yeah, like I said, it's an interesting read. There's some people who like this kind of stuff. They like tragic endings and and all that. Me particularly, no. I want happy endings. I especially like the ones where it's like, the adventure continues type of thing. You know, like that's literally a line in Justice League Unlimited.
Well, the
That's
adventure does continue with the zombie son.
no. um And I mean, like I said, and I also mentioned, like, I was hoping for an ending like Paranorman, where, basically the witch moves on, the curse is lifted, and everyone moves on. But no. Yeah, I mean, this is just, I mean, again, I mean, the whole point of this podcast is for us to read different kinds of books, and I mean, I'm glad I read this one. It was really cool. Just, I guess, not my cup of tea in terms of where it leads, you know.
Yes. And it was creepy. Like reading a lot of the stuff. I couldn't listen to the audiobook in the morning. I wake up at like 4 in the morning to go to work and it's
Hmm.
still like pitch black outside. Like I could not do that. That was
Yeah, no, I mean, whenever I watch a scary movie, I hate doing the thing to myself where I'm thinking about it in the dark, and I'm like, ah, fuck, now I'm
yeah.
thinking the ghost is in my room. It's the same thing with this one. I can't not think about. I'm trying not to think about Catherine
I know, me too
coming up
right
in my
now.
room. Yeah, but like it pops up every once in a while. So like if it gets if some either a book or a movie gets me to do that, you did a good job of like making something creepy and all
Creepy and like, stay in your head.
stay in your head. Especially this one part I really liked.
Oh,
Um, Someone gets hanged, and when that happens, Catherine shows up, but she like puts herself like on top of a building, and at this point she's still stitched up and everything, and the book says that everyone at the same time saw the same thing, and that was Catherine laughing. Like she knew you're all like just going fucking crazy or something like that. And
mhm.
I remember getting to that part, and I was like, "Fuck, that's cool."
Yeah. I think just like the creepiest moments are when like she appears in people's rooms. Like
Hmm.
that to me would just kill me right then and there. Like
Hmm.
I would not be able to deal with that. But yeah, it
Hmm.
was fun. I'm glad we read it.
Yeah. Um, we read this one, and we read "We've Always Lived in the Castle." Um, I think I prefer Castle,
Me too.
only because of the ending. And it's not because this one had
Yeah,
like a
you
sad.
really like the ending for the other
It
one.
was, yeah. I mean, the difference between the two, like with Castle, it wasn't a perfect happy ending or anything like that. They lived in a burnt down house, forever cut off from everyone. So like, it's not a perfect happy ending, but like there was something about it that I was happy for the characters. You know,
Yeah, yeah,
like they
yeah.
were, even though it doesn't seem perfect and all that, they were completely happy with what they had. Like literally that was literally the last line. I'm so happy, and I
Yeah.
and I believed it, and in a sense, I was kind of happy about the fact that the rest of the town felt like shit about what they did, so it's just this thing of like, you guys the whole town gave these two girls shit because of this one thing that happened that was a complete accident. You know, we say that like a whole bunch of times during the last podcast, and it was like,
We did.
yeah, and like it was really none of your guys' business, but you made it your business, and then you just made these girls suffer, and at some point you all felt bad, like you literally all felt bad, but there's nothing you can do now. Like they want to be cut off from you, they don't want to do anything with you, and in a sense the town is probably suffering, or not, I wouldn't say suffering, but like they will always forever feel guilty about that. But the girls just kind of mind their own business, and they're happy with that, with where they're at. And so that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Whereas just this one is just, you set up, one man is willing to sacrifice a town for his son, he does exactly that, and he's cursed. Or
There's actually another book. Hopefully we read it sometime soon if we have time. Oh man, I can't remember the name of the book. I can picture the cover. But it's kind of the same thing where it's like uh this family is like secluded from everybody because of a murder that happened, and they blame one of the family members and stuff. I'll tell you next time because
mm-hmm.
it's no, I can't remember. I thought I had it on here, but hopefully we get to it because that one I don't think it's like exactly the same thing, but it's like the concept is like similar. Might not have a happy ending.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'll try to get through it. I don't know. Well, I'll be happy to read it, especially because the next book that we're gonna read does have a happy ending, and I am very excited about it. We are going to try to stick with the schedule. Ale. The next one, I mean, this one will be released on Saturday, the 9th. The next one will be released on the 15th. That's what we're trying to do, 15th and 30th or 31st of the month. That's what you're trying to set to do. And the next book we'll talk about is Percy Jackson, The Lightning Thief. Yeah, the show is coming out. I've never shut up about this book series. And so this is the perfect time to read it, or at least talk about it, reread it for me. And we can say this, we will do reactions of the show. The strikes are done, so I can put it out right away. Last time I said that like we'll probably do the reactions, but we won't release them until after the strike ends, and hopefully that will be soon. And they ended, so we're good. But yeah, you excited for Percy?
I'm very excited.
Yeah, I finally get to talk about the whole thing. I mean, just at least we're only gonna talk about the first one. We're not gonna go through the whole all 5 books. Like I said, we're trying.
We might get into spoilers for the other books, but we'll see how
I think I'll probably do spoilers maybe for the reactions. Well, I'll do my best to not mention anything during the books discussion, at least. But yeah, the book podcast will just stick with book stuff. When we do the reactions, we'll talk about like other things, like just kind of everything leading up to it and all that blah blah blah. I don't know. But yeah, that's gonna be the next episode. That'll be pretty soon. Nothing else to add?
No.
Cool. This is a very short episode again. I feel like we could have talked about it more, but like I mentioned, just wasn't that into it. How long was our last podcast though? The one for,
I don't think it was that long either. I mean, like I said, I don't think it matters.
I don't know, but like I feel like I don't know. I always do this too with freaking Quest Center. I'm always like, oh yeah, we're gonna do like 2 parts of this or something, but then all of a sudden we just not even make it, like barely make it an hour or something like that. I don't know. And then on ones that I'm trying
I
to
mean,
go
you
for.
also did not read other books, so, that's partly your fault.
Sure. An hour and 18. Okay, it's not that much shorter, I guess.
That's the extra 20 minutes you could have spent talking about your books.
True. Yeah, we got 9 views on that one, by the
I'm
way.
just kidding. But yeah,
So yeah,
fun
that
times.
yeah, fun times. And I'm sure we're gonna talk about more in Percy Jackson though too. And I'll try to like plow through some a book. Okay, I promise. I have 2 short ones right here, so we'll see. But yeah, thank y'all for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. Sorry if you really like this book and we didn't discuss about some of the things you probably wanted us to talk about. I don't know. I can't really think of like a theme for this. I don't know. Like I feel
Death.
like don't mess with witches. I don't know. Would you sacrifice a time for your kids? Sure. I mean, yeah. For some reason, I thought I got it mixed. Yeah, it was just kind of a story. Well, as I mentioned before, I'm also do Quest Center. I'm playing Sea of Stars. Those are going up. I screwed myself over doing 2 videos a day, and I can't keep up now. So probably Monday I'll start just doing 1 video a day because I don't know. We're also on Red Spotlight. I mean, this is Red Spotlight, but we also do other podcasts talking about movies, TV shows. Me and Alexis are reacting to Doctor Who. Tomorrow, as of this recording, I'll be doing another reaction for the 3rd special. Excited, and that'll be the ending of David Tennant.
Oh
Again,
no.
yeah.
That was so short-lived.
I know, and it was so much fun, dude. Oh my gosh, that 2nd episode, like, oh my god, it was so much fun. He was back. He was back. And yeah, just regular podcasts for sure. We're gonna talk about Boy and the Heron soon. I don't know what else. I think it was just gonna be that, huh?
I think so.
Yeah, I don't know what else is on for movie news, but that's for sure the main topic for our next podcast.
Yep.
All right. Again, hope you all enjoyed. Bye-bye.
Bye.